Okay, we are live. Welcome to Tamarah's Closet today. I'm thrilled to have a young and talented world champion lightweight boxer with me today. This man has an amazing story from triumph to trials and tribulations back to triumph. So I think you're really going to enjoy his story. The Universal Boxing Organization has named him the 2021 Boxer of the Year. And this April, he will be defending his world title in Alabama. And so we'll be talking about that as well. So without further delay, I want to welcome Noel Echevarria Sr. Welcome to Tamarah's Closet, Noel.
Thank you.
And did I pronounce your last name wrong? I meant to ask you that.
It happens. A Puerto Rican crazy last name, Echevarria.
Echevarria, yeah.
You had it right.
Well, I'm glad you're here with me today. Thanks for taking time out of your day. And I'd just like to jump into your childhood a little bit and want to know a little bit about your history. And if you have any memories when you were really little, when we first start thinking about or claiming what we want to be when we grow up, do you remember what that was?
Yeah, first I thank God for this opportunity, and I thank Tamarah thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity to share a little bit of my story. As a young child, no, I did not have I wasn't really the I didn't really want to fight. I wasn't a kind of like trying to box or anything like that or do any kind of sports. I wanted to be a SWAT member when I was young as a boy.
Oh.
Yeah, I wanted to be a SWAT member, and then that kind of it didn't happen.
Oh well, I think that's would have been fun too, for sure.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So, were there any other family members? Because I don't even. Do you have siblings? Do you have family members that, or like, did you watch boxing, or did you watch it?
I have. At the time, it was only 3 of us. Now there's 4 of us. It was me, my brother, and my sister. I'm the oldest child. No, nobody was into the athletic sports except my father. My father and his brothers, they were big on basketball. In Puerto Rico, they were just like, they were super good. They didn't get the opportunities that I got because I'm in, the United States, and at the time, in their time, they didn't really have those kind of opportunities in Puerto Rico where there could be like a NBA draft for the Puerto Ricans and stuff like that. So my dad was really talented when he was young. Same with his twin brother. He was super talented. 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot tall guys, just like crazy athleticism, and can dunk the ball, 10-foot goal, dunk the ball like super easy. I've seen my dad do it a few times, and I'm like, what? Yeah, that kind of like pushed me into the sports. I played basketball for YMCA in York, Pennsylvania, and was pretty good at it. I was going to be named the most valuable player, except I had a temper problem, and
Okay. So you were good at basketball then. So that's impressive.
Yeah, I was good at basketball. I could have kept going. I wanted to keep going with it, but I didn't because I dropped out of high school. My second year of high school. I dropped out of my second year of high school, and I tried to play for Reynolds in Winston Salem, Reynolds High School, and that didn't go so well because also my temper problem got the best of me, and I did things that I shouldn't have.
Yeah. Well, I know in your bio it talks a little bit about you getting your involvement in gangs when you moved to York, Pennsylvania. How did all that? Is there anything about that you can share, or how did that happen? Or
Sure. Well, I was born in Puerto Rico. We moved to Florida when I was 5. I didn't stay there long. My dad's brother lives in York, PA, and so he's like, "Yo, Noel, you gotta." My dad's name is Noel, so he's like, "Yo, Noel, you gotta bring the family up here. Where everybody be close." My dad's mom was also in York, Pennsylvania, so it was like everybody uprooted up there from Florida. It didn't take that long, and then um, stayed there until I was 12, and about 12, about to be 13, we moved down here to North Carolina. But in that time, growing up in York, Pennsylvania, it's like almost like growing up in the jungle. Well, for me, anyways, it was. As a young boy, I was very rebellious. My chiropractor, I like to say, like, I enjoyed being bad. That I enjoyed it at the time because it was just like it was a thrill for me as a young boy. My chiropractor don't like me saying that, but that's whatever. She says there's no bad choices, it's just bad influences. So which is, I believe, it's also true because I didn't really get along with my siblings that much. And when we get along, we would be like playing like the Nintendo 64, and other than that, it was just like, all right, you're kind of like boring. I'm gonna go to the streets. And not here you can't, like, the children can't just leave and go down to downtown, whereas in York, Pennsylvania, I left home and didn't come back until like nightfall. And um being with those friends that I was with, and it kind of when I started smoking at like 8, 9 ish. When I started smoking and hanging out with those friends of mine, that's when I kind of got introduced to like the gang activity. And then it went from west side, east side, north side, south side to now I'm with this affiliation, or now I'm under this affiliation, under that branch. Um, I won't disclose their name. So the they chose me as kind of like the what did you say is the meadows, the hefe, we call them hefe, the bosses, kind of like the bosses. I'm not exactly sure how to put it. It's like he brought me under his wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything that I would have so much responsibility as a young boy with these guys. If he say, "Hey, these guys owe me this money," I go make sure I get that money from 'em by any means necessary. Whether yeah, crazy. So
Is there something in the being in the gang that um, that got you kind of interested in doing boxing to sort of channel it into something good, or?
Not at the time. I was in York, PA. I was just bad. I say I'm bad. I was bad. I like to fight. I always fought. I always got suspended from school fighting. In middle school, and the only reason I really got into that was because in 6th grade I was getting bullied by this guy named Richard. Everybody called him Dick. I guess that's like a short name for Richard.
Uh-huh.
Um, but so Richard was like, he every time I go to school, he grabbed me by the back of my neck and throw me around and stuff. And like, I got tired of it, because I didn't want to go home and just tell my dad either, because I knew I was gonna get beat up twice. My dad didn't play that kind of game. He's like,
Yeah.
you get beat up at school, you're gonna get beat up here too. I'm like, okay. So I let it go for a little while, for a couple of weeks, and then um I grew tired of it. So I like the next thing I told him was like, he did that to me when I came to school, and I think the year right before the year ended in 6th grade. and he's an 8th grader, and I told him, I said, look, man, you gotta stop this. I'm not gonna keep being your puppet every time I come up to school. You just throw me around like I'm nothing. And then he went to grab me again. I popped him with a straight left and just fought him all the way down the heel. And when when the officer broke us up, he was like, man, you let this little guy beat you up. My dad, my dad had to leave work to come get me from the school. And he's like, you did you get beat up? No? All right. You can go home. Let's go home then. You won't have to get beat up at home either. I'm like,
Did your parents know you were in the gangs? Actually,
no, my parents, they didn't know that at the time. They do now, but because I told them I'm grown, so. But at the time, no, because I would go home, leave home, and I had a curfew, 9:00. Be at home when the sun starts going down, got to be at home. Or when the lights, the street lights come on, that's when I got to be at home or start getting my butt home. They didn't really know what I was getting to, because my siblings were just fine. They weren't into that kind of stuff, and so they figured me being the oldest, I wouldn't do stuff like that, because my parents, they weren't like that. My dad kind of was in Puerto Rico, but in Puerto Rico you had to live that kind of lifestyle. But here, they wanted to get me out of that kind of get us out of that kind of lifestyle so they can give us a better lifestyle. And I rebelled against it and decided to just stick with it. And well, my dad used to explain to me, how he used to be and how he wanted me to be better. So instead of me taking in how I can be better, I was like, no, I'm gonna be worse. So yeah, it kind of happened, and I made it worse. And then boxing didn't come into here. I used to watch boxing with my dad. Felix Tino Trinidad, every time he fought, I was always with my dad. I didn't like staying at home, so my dad would take me with him to his friend's house. We watched the fights and stuff like that, the boxing matches. I never thought that I could do something like that, because there was like on TV, and they're on TV and people are watching them on TV, and they're actually like their style of fighting was not like street fighting. Street fighting is completely different than boxing itself. So I never really thought about myself doing something like that, but here I am, right?
Well, when did you make that transition? What was the moment that you decided you wanted to get into boxing, or how?
When I was here, when we moved here, I was like about 14 years old. 14, still getting suspended for fighting. Then I stopped going to school. I started skipping school all the time. It was just like, all right, I ain't going to school. If I don't have to go to school, I ain't going to school. I get on the bus, get to school, leave school, and still fight. And one of my friend's mothers, she kept telling me, her name's Tina. She's like, you need to do something with your life. You need to do something with your life, because you're going down a bad road, and you like fighting so much. Why don't you do something with it? I was like, what? Do something. She's like, yeah, go to a boxing gym. There's plenty of boxing gyms around here. It's just like, okay, shoot, let me see. I gotta figure this out. And start asking around, and went to 14th Street, the rec center in 14th Street, off 14th Street, and went in there and seen everybody in there sparring and stuff, and I'm like, ooh, this is cool. Yeah, all right. I guess I'm gonna be a boxer then. Like, I'm gonna start doing this. And
Was this in Kernersville when you say
Winston Salem? Winston Salem. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, in Winston at 14th Street. It's right there, right in the middle of the hood. So it's like that's where I was at. And the second day that I was in there, they put me to spar against Jason Rory, and he was a pro he's a pro at the time he's not like he wasn't an established professional athlete, but still he had a lot of fights. So I got in there with him, and he hit me with a body shot, and like in the third round, I lasted to the third round somehow, but he hit me with a body shot, and I had to take a knee, and I'm like, ooh, it's like I need to know what he knows. It took me 6 months to knock him out, though. I came back after I learned and was extra dedicated to it. Then when I did that, I was like, oh yeah, all right, now I might have a future in this, And I kept with it ever since. Ever since I kept with it, even through homelessness and all the other mess that I've been through. At the time.
When did you experience the homelessness? When was that?
I experienced homelessness a lot throughout my teenage years, because at the time as a rebel, it was like, my mother wasn't putting up with it. My mom, she's strong, she's tough, she's tougher than my dad. Like my dad's tough, but my mom's on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, I ain't putting up with it. You gotta go.
Yeah.
Like 16 years old, and like, I gotta go. Oh, okay, all right. So I had to figure it out on my own. But I had my best friend at the time. He's dead now. It's been 2 years. My best friend at the time, I would stay with his grandmother, and she would make me sleep out on the porch. But as long as I had something over my head where I wasn't getting rained on, I was fine. And get kicked out of there, had to go sleep in a car, get kicked out of there, sleep in a shed, get kicked out of there. Then I still kept going to the gym. Me and my best friends, him and his brother, and that's how I say friends, plural. We would practice in the yard, sparring each other in the yard and training each other. And
I hate to interrupt. I'm just trying to piece the steps as to when everything happened. Had you started doing the drugs yet, or was this just you were kicked out because of your temper, or?
Not both. Yeah, I was smoking weed since like 8, 9.
Wow.
I started smoking weed, cigarettes, and I ain't start doing cocaine until I was like 15, 16. But yeah. So I even had this. I was growing a pot plant one time, and I brought it to my mom's house and was hiding it in the closet. Yeah, and she's like wondering what's that smell every day, and I'm like, I don't know. She ended up finding it, and she's like, you gotta get out my house. Don't blame me for it, but
tell me what led you up to, because during all this, how'd you get into the Junior Olympics? Because that,
I just kept training, and as an amateur, they don't drug test you in the amateurs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they don't drug test you, so it doesn't matter what you're on. You just go in there and do your thing. They match you up. With somebody in your weight class. I fought at 132-pound weight class.
Yeah.
And I had before I fought, I had 5 wins and 3 losses. I had 4 wins and 3 losses before I went into the Junior Olympics. And then in the JOs, I ended up at the end 5-5, and then I went pro after that. And I won the Junior Olympics though, so that 2010 Junior Olympic champion.
Yeah, and it says your bio said things flourished, but then you succumbed to drugs. So
yeah.
So did you quit for a while, and then what was going on that you got back into that? Because you were doing good and you were only 20.
Yeah, oh, right. I smack myself all the time for that. When I went pro in 2011, I had a choice between fighting a guy an undefeated guy, 2-0 with 2 knockouts, and then I had another choice to fight a guy with 0 wins and 6 losses. So I sat down with Coach Danny and was like, who's my coach at the time, 2-time world champion in his time. I sat down with Coach Danny and said, well, if I got a future in this, and I'm gonna pick this guy. I'm gonna pick this guy 2-0, 2 knockouts. Because if I fight this guy 0-6 or 0-5, 0-6, and it's not really, I don't really know if I'm worth actual, to actually get up there to the big leagues. And if I fight this guy who's undefeated, he done got 2 knockouts against 2 left-handers, and I'm left-handed. So if I beat this guy, then I know I may have a good future ahead of me. So we practiced, we trained for that guy 2-0 with 2 knockouts, and then I went in there, won the fight, 4-round decision. It was a unanimous decision, and then then everybody wanted to. It was weird. I had like managers and all kinds of people trying to sign me. Excuse me, to sign me and to sign me under their promotional thing or management thing. So I'm like, it was very confusing at first, and then so I left. I was like, all right, forget this. I'm leaving. I'm going to New York. So I left and went to New York for about 9 months. And
in New York.
In New York, yeah, I lived in New York for it was about 10 months, almost a year, and trained up there. Was training up there with Zab Judah's father, Zab Judah's ex-world champion, 2-time world champion, welterweight, and was in Brooklyn, training in Brooklyn and sparring all over the place, between Long Island, Queens, and Brooklyn, and they just running through everybody, and they're like, dude, who is this guy? And then I come back to North Carolina. Because why was it one of the reasons I was 2 reasons. One of the reasons why I came back was because of my daughter's mother, who's my ex-wife, and then the other reason was because Tommy Hill was was going to be my manager. I signed with him, so I had to come back to North Carolina because he's from Charlotte. So I came back to Winston, and then came back to Winston. Had my second fight. I fought Tayshawn Autry. I ended up signing my contract with Tommy Hill as my management team, and so I had a few fights with them. I think I went 11-0. I went 11-0 undefeated. Well, but my second fight, let me not get ahead of myself. My second fight, I was high when I fought. I was, smoking weed and came back here to start smoking weed, and it made no sense. But I came back to North Carolina, started smoking weed again, got around, some of the friends that are around here, that I have around here, and just didn't stay disciplined. So without being disciplined, it's kind of hard to not fall into that bad influence, and so I fell into the bad influence, but I won the fight, because it's a good thing that Tayshawn Autry didn't have no skill, because he could have beat me if he had some skills. But I was in there high, I had smoke.
Did your trainer know you were? Was he aware of what was going on, or
no? No, I kept that. Yeah, I kept that all to myself. That's how I was. I did all my bad stuff in secret.
Wow.
So then when I won the fight, I did win the fight. I stopped them in the first round, and then it's like I won the next 9 fights. I was 11-0, and then I was going to take a big fight at the Barclays Center. And the same, I kind of got big-headed, got cocky, overconfident. I wasn't really cocky. I never really been cocky. I was just really overconfident. Didn't train too much. This is kind of Now, I let my talent kind of like go over my head a little bit, and I was definitely put down on that fight. He won a 4-round decision. He beat me in a 4-round decision, and then when I lost my first fight, I kind of like went to a very dark place, and that's when I really started. That's when I started doing more cocaine. Then I started like smoking the cocaine in my marijuana blunts. And
Oh, yeah. That's fact. Well, what was your turning point that led you? What led you to straighten yourself out and get back into training, taking it more seriously, and beat the drugs?
I throughout all that, after all those years, on my sixth loss, my sixth loss, I started just taking fights over and over and over again. Didn't like, because I was like, all right, I'm getting paid 7,000 for this fight. I'm getting paid 6,000 for this fight, 5,000 for this fight. I'm just gonna keep racking up money. It don't matter, right? Because at least I'm fighting, I'm racking money and paying my bills, right? So like all my bills, I used to pay them 6 months in advance. So that way, when I fight, I knew I was gonna get suspended for the drug habit, and because they do drug test you in the pros, especially like you go to fight in New York or California, or when I fought on HBO, definitely drug test you and they'll fine you. They fine you too. So my sixth loss, when I fought Rod Salka, I was winning the fight. Everybody, even afterwards, came up to me in the ambulance. They're like, "What happened, man? We had you up on the scorecards and stuff like that." I'm like, "Yeah," and then fell asleep. We was fighting in the sixth round. We caught each other with a few combinations, and then I remember catching a shot. I threw 2 shots, and then I got hit on the arm, and then I had to back up because I felt like my body was about to fall out. So I backed up, and then I puked up blood, and then fell down. Try to get up. The referee is supposed to give you the 10 count.
Yeah.
So I tried to get up, puked up more blood, and then I was just like out. I don't even remember what happened after that. And they put me in a stretcher. I have pictures and stuff of it. They put me in a stretcher, and they had to carry me out the ring in a stretcher. So yeah, after that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna leave boxing alone until I fix myself up, figure this whole drug thing out. And then I ended up going to what was it, 2000? That was 2015, 2016. I was at Holly Hill Mental Institution in Cary, and I was in the mental institute for a little while, and they kind of, I guess they gave me a diagnosis of bipolar level 2, PTSD, psychosocial stressors, insomnia, and I think that's it. I don't have my list in front of me, so if I forget it sometimes. So they put me on all kinds of medication because of that too, and so I get out of this mental hospital after a month of being in there, and I get out of there, go straight to smoking weed again.
Really?
Yeah, it's stupid. I
So,
go back to smoking weed, and then I go back to smoking weed while now I'm on medication. So it's like my body's like doing this now with the crazy chemical reactions that my body's going through, and which made all my symptoms worse, right? So
right.
yeah, so then I ended up killing myself. I ended up just like, I took all my medications, and it's like I just gone. Ended up dying for a couple hours. They brought me back somehow. Not sure how that happened, but they brought me back, and then I was stuck again in the mental hospital.
I'm confused. So you tried. It was an intentional attempt at suicide, but they worked on you for 2 hours, or
Yeah, I was dead. Yeah, I was dead, and then like I'm guessing I'm not. I don't know because obviously I don't remember any of that. But they ended up bringing me back somehow, and I stayed in a coma for 2 days, and then I ended up waking up on the third day, which is bizarre. Don't remember any of it now, but yeah, they was like ready to just like pull the plug and stuff, and then I guess what I'm guessing is that there was a beep on the on the monitors or whatnot, and then they went back to work and doing what they were supposed to do to try to revive me, and they did. I thank God every day for it, and so that's when I changed my fight name. So I was like, all right, now when I changed my fight name I used to be called Noel Shut Up Echevarria.
uh-huh.
And now I'm Noel the Holy Fire because of all that I had to endure from when I woke up out of that coma. Then I disappeared. I disappeared. I was living in a tent. I was living in a tent. I was still working. I was working at McDonald's, and I was go to work at McDonald's, then go into the woods and to my tent, and did that for quite some time, and then my brother, who's so awesome, he was like, quit making excuses for yourself. You gotta what if I get you a car? If I get you a car, will you go get a better job and get out of that rut that you're in? And I'm like, what? You gonna give me a car? Yeah.
After that event, how long after this, when you came out of the coma and all that, did you get back into training?
I wasn't. I wasn't training. I was like not until 2017.
So it
So
took,
that was between 2015 and 2017. It was a 2 year of nothing but trials and
okay,
tribulation, trying to just regain who I am, trying to find who I was.
yeah,
And I kept getting led back to the boxing. I worked for quite some time, like 6 or 7 months. I was working third shift. I was working first shift, and I just kept doing that. So I'm like, oh, I got some time between first shift and third shift to go to work, and I'm gonna start training again, see how that feels.
right.
So I prayed heavily on it, and kind of God kind of like guided me back to the gym after I made sure that I was in shape. I wasn't going back to the gym until I was like completely in shape, and I was at least a year clean, no drugs, and I ended up quitting all the drugs and all my medications, all the drugs that I was doing. I just quit cold turkey.
You didn't get any. You didn't go to a rehab
No, I just stopped.
or
Just
meetings or.
no, I was the day that I quit was in the first week of June, and um it's about to be going on 5 years now clean. So the first week of June, I was walking down the street. I left Kernersville to come to Winston to my mom's house because I was hungry. So I was walking down the street. It's like rolling my blunt or whatnot, and it sprinkled the stuff in it. I was like, all right, I'm on my way to my mom's house. Kind of was just a normal thing that I was doing, and then I don't know. I felt like something in me is just like grasped my heart. I looked at what I was doing, and I looked up. I was like, fine, just threw it. It's like fine. I felt like God was like, no, it's enough. And so I was like, all right, okay. So I threw it, and then I walked like half a mile down the street, and then I'm like, oh, come on, Lord, I'm just gonna do this one last one. I'm not gonna waste it, you know. So I go back to go find it again, and then I ended up finding it, and I go to pick it up, and I'm like, no, fine, I just leave it there. So I stomped it and put it in the ground, just stomped it, kind of I buried it. Just like I'm like, all right, forget it. I'm gonna bury my crap under there and just leave it alone. I'm never gonna touch it again.
And this was after you got out of the coma.
Yeah, this is all afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
My crazy self was just like kept doing it for a little while, and then when that happened, I was like, all right, I'll leave it alone. So I just walked and started carrying my Bible with me every day and reading my Bible and while I was living in the tent, I was reading my Bible, going to work at McDonald's, coming back. Then that's when my brother was like, all right, we'll get you a car, whatnot. I'm gonna get you a car. And paid like $3,000 for a car, and I used that I went and got 2 more jobs, and then left the job at McDonald's and started going back to 14th Street. Went to 14th Street just to get in shape, and was going back and forth, working, going work third shift, went to work first shift, came home, took a few hours to nap, and then went to the gym, and then redid that whole cycle. It was a cycle for quite some time, and then when I was a year clean, then I went to Fitness One, that's where Danny Akers is or was, and he's still there now, but that's where he was at the time. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go now. I'm a year clean, so
yeah,
I'm good now. Let me go back to the gym and see and ask for forgiveness and stuff, because that's what I needed to do that first, because I've let a lot of people down. So went there and asked for forgiveness and all that stuff. Everybody forgave me, so I felt like, all right, God's making me move in the right direction here. And I stayed there for a while, and I stayed there for a while. Had my first fight back in 2018. Won that fight in the 4th round. Stopped the guy in the 4th round, TKO. And then the next fight was a title fight. My first title fight. It was the United National Boxing Council Championship. It's not a known title, but it was a title for me. It was American championship, a U.S. championship. So I fought for it, won it in the 8th round, got the 8th round knockout, and then in between the little mitts between 2018 and 2019, met Elena and my wife now, and we kind of like kept our little relationship as a secret until I won that. And once I won that fight, like, it was funny. I won that fight, won the belt, and then I come out the ring and kiss her, and everybody's like, it's so funny. Everybody was so shocked over it. And then so after that, and I kind of like when the pandemic hit in the end of 2019, 20, beginning of 20, is like they gym shut down and stuff, and then there's a few little things that were going on, and so I went to Mexico to train in Mexico. When I came back, I ended up losing the fight. I don't remember when that was. August? What year? It's better if I look it up real fast. Yeah. Okay, so I came back, and I was gonna fight for the USBO, the United States Boxing Organization belt. And that's a prestigious title under the International Boxing Organization. And I lost that fight by split decision. And it bothered me a whole lot because I had voiced a few things that I knew that I needed throughout the camp that I had, and it wasn't the needs weren't met. And well, I take responsibility for the loss, but then it's not like my full responsibility because the team that I had at the time could have made a better effort, and we could it could have been a different route than the route that I'm taking now, but which is still a blessing. I see it as a blessing because then after that fight, then that manager that I had dropped me. He said, "All right, I'm gonna set you free. Now you can be a free agent." Yada yada. Had it written out in the contract, and then now I'm a free agent, and then 2021, right? 2021, I have all I made all these decisions the way that I made them to become a world champion. And as I was telling my coach the other day, Danny Akers. He's like, I was like, yeah, this 2020 was my best year because, being a free agent and having all the knowledge and through all the tribulations that I was going through, allowed me to get that like, yeah, it's like, I'm like, it was mind blowing for me. And my dad Coach Danny had my coach couldn't hope he can't be in my corner because he had that they cracked his chest open, had to play with his heart or whatnot, and yeah, so he couldn't be in my corner in the whole year 2020. So I told my dad, I was like, look, Pa, you got to step it up, dude. I need you in my corner.
So that's how your dad became your trainers. When your coach had to have open heart surgery, then your dad stepped up. Okay, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
So that's why I was like, all right, Pops. I fought a fight in Mexico. I didn't have nobody in my corner except my big brother and mentor. He's Roberto White. He was in my corner in Mexico, and won my fight in Mexico. It was like another dream of mine. It was like I always wanted to fight out of the country. Got out there, fought out there, and then came back, and that's when I came back, I said, all right, Pops, we got a lot to do this year, and like, you need to step it up. I need you in my corner. Like, he's like, well, I don't know how to work the pads. I don't know how to do any of that. So I'm like, it's okay. I'm gonna teach you. I'm gonna show you how to do it. So I kind of showed him how to do it a little bit, and how to hold the pads the correct way, the correct form. And then after that, he's just like, boom. After the first fight, he was just like full blown pro at it. Like, yeah. And then now he's helping me so much. He's keeping me. He messaged me this morning, making sure that my camp is going good. Hey, you didn't eat too much this morning, did you? I'm like, no, I ate a yogurt. Ugh. Yeah. He's super into it now. I'm so happy. That's one of my main. I got three main. Main pleasures that I've had from going into a free agent was that. For one, I'm a free agent now. Nobody can tell me, what fight I can take or how I should do things. I can do it exactly how I feel is best to me. And my dad, I get to spend time with my dad on practically every day, Monday through Friday. We train Monday through Friday until we get closer to the fight. Then we train Sunday through Friday. And then because Saturdays for one is my holy day. And then two, I don't train on Saturdays except fighting at Saturday evening. So
Right.
yeah, so like on Saturdays I try not to do anything. I don't do anything except like maybe go for a small walk or something.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's then so yeah, that's my second um most greatest pleasure is that I get to spend time with my dad, and he doesn't have to. It makes me happy. It makes me so happy because he doesn't have to worry about me like, oh, Noelito is out on the road again. I don't know what he's doing. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But yeah.
Well, when I came and watched you train with your dad last week, I got to see his passion and your passion and the intensity and you know and how you do this, like you said, 7 days once it gets close to a fight. Is there when I was there, you were telling me about your technique of using the weight of your body and your jabs versus what other boxers do, and it kind of gives you an edge. Can you explain this kind of quickly to the viewers, or?
Oh yeah. It's a lot of my technique my style of fighting is more shoulder movement instead of arm placement. Like a lot of people like to use the arms for a jab instead of using that here, the shoulder, because the weight has to come out through the body here and expends out from the fingertips by the use of the shoulder movement. And without using the shoulder movement, you kind of like you have a halfway punch, or a half whatever. It's all punches anyway. So a halfway punch, that's a good word. Uh, that's that I like my when I fight I like all my punches to mean something, because we're in a boxing ring. So like, I got to go against somebody to try to win, and it's only one man versus another man, and I want to make sure that all my punches, that my opponent knows that if he gets hit by my punches, it's gonna hurt, you know um though with bad intentions. And it's not that I mean anything from it, because I don't go in there trying to like. It's not my mentality is not like, oh, I'm going in here, I'm going to try to kill this guy, like, or I'm super angry at this guy, who has done nothing to me. It's I've never understood that concept that people go into the ring angry with the other opponent, because like he's doing his job as you're doing your job. He's got to try to win, and I got to try to win. So, may the best man win. Whoever's better prepared is who's going to win. There's no point in being upset. Like, why I'm going to be mad at somebody that I don't even know, for one, and then who has never done anything to me. Now, if he comes to the weigh-ins and he's like, pushing me around, or he spits on me or something, yeah, then okay, then it's justifiable to be angry. But
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've learned to channel your anger, even because that was one of my questions at some point. Is how you go in the ring and not have that hostility. I mean, because it's not like another sport where you're going in and it's competitive sport. You actually are fighting, actually punching each other. So I was, but it sounds like you've managed to channel that into more professional than what you used to do when you had the temper. And I mean,
yeah.
how do you keep from being angry when you go in there and, like you said, look at them as they're doing their job just like you?
One of my things is that I kind of like I research people. I research them. Yeah, check his Facebook out, check his Instagram out, check him out a little bit. Oh, he's got children. He's got a family. Oh, this guy is not coming in here to try to, he's trying to win. Of course, we all in here trying to win, but he's not doing it out of a malicious thought. Um, that that's what makes me happy about it. Especially like one of the guys one the first guy that fought in 2020. We fought. I won. Yes, I won by TKO, but to that gratifying, that satisfaction feeling that, what he used that money for was on a whole nother level. He went and bought his daughter toys, clothes. Like, he was able to take care of himself and his family for, 6 months. That kind of money in Mexico lasts a long time. And I was like, oh man, I really like doing this. This is a very gratifying feeling. So I know that I have to go in here and, of course, perform, but then afterwards, and even before, it's like, all right, you need something, I got you, I can help you out. You need a ride, or you need your medicals done. Okay, we got that. Um, because I know that the people that I'm going to face, that we choose, that I'm going to face, are people that could use the help.
Right.
And that's one of the main things that people don't see in this sport. They see the blood, the glory, and all that other mess, but yeah, but what they don't see is what's going on after, or what's going on before the fight, leading up to the fight. All the sacrifices that we made to bless one another. As that's why every boxer, we're like, all right, we're all brothers here. It's like, because we're all trying to help each other out to get to a certain point, regardless if we're trying to win or whether we're trying to win. I don't think anybody goes in there to lose, but people get set up uh, on the amount of talent they have, and that's kind of like what makes it kind of obvious on winners and losers.
Right. So
Yeah,
you got a big match coming up in April to defend your world title. What are the next few weeks of your life going to look like?
this. Yeah, it's gonna just be tough. Actually, it's like I'm really excited about it. For I'm super excited about it because myself, my wife, and my chiropractor, we all kind of like, um, we made up this plan on, so that way I have more energy when I'm dropping weight, and which I have never done before. Uh, yeah. So it's kind of like really new. I My chiropractor's like, maybe you should try it on your off camp days, when you're not in training for a fight, and just try to see. I'm like, no, let's just do it. Like, that's the
Yeah.
kind of person I am. I'm like, all right, let's just do it. Let's do it this way, see if it works. And if it don't work, then we tried it. But man, I've already dropped. I was 167 pounds. I now 140. I woke up 146. So roughly about like 20 some pounds now that I've lost in almost 2 months. And I'm like, I wake up, I'm okay. I'm not in a, when I used to lose a lot of weight like that, I get in moods. I get in like, you ever seen that commercial? It's like the person's real angry and or turns into a monster, and then until they get the Snickers bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. But and now I'm just like relaxing. I wake up. I'm energetic. I used to wake up and be like very lack of, and I was lacking so much energy. Like now I'm not really lacking any energy, and I'm like super happy, excited. Now, I mean, I get to defend that again. So it's like
Yeah.
my second world title defense. I'm like, I completed a goal. I completed a goal that's on my vision board that is put me one step further in life. I believe so, and it's a hope of faith. It's a leap of faith that I'm doing to continue to try to better myself and my life, so that my children have they don't have an excuse to not do better. That's
Right.
Yeah, that's how I look. That's how I look at things. Like, all right, I'm gonna set this boundary. you have to get over this boundary here. Like, I don't care what it is that you do. You could do. That's why I tell them all the time. I'm like, I don't care what it is that you do, but it has to be something positive, and you got to surpass me. Like,
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm like, and that's one of the things that motivates me. I'm like, I keep setting the boundary higher and higher and higher.
Yeah. Well, that's good though. How do you handle right before you go into the ring? How do you deal with there's bound to be some intense pressure. How do you handle that right before you go in or
Yeah, it's not though. There's no intense pressure.
okay.
It's the only pressure that there is at weigh-ins. Once I'm like 135 pounds even or one or under 134, that's like I'm like zombie mode. Like, come on, man, you need
Yeah.
to hurry up so I can eat. And then you get that whole day or that whole night, and then that whole half the next day to rehydrate. I'll go from 135 to like 145, maybe 147, just overnight, and that's
After
like
a match, you mean after the off season or
no, that's right after weigh-ins. So the weigh-ins is that Friday. You got
oh,
weigh-ins, yeah. The weigh-ins is Friday, and it'd be like I don't know 5-ish, sometimes a little later, and then once you weigh in, then you have all that night until Saturday, and then all that Saturday day to rehydrate, to gain as much weight as you want to before the fight. So it's kind of interesting how that works. But
oh, okay. I didn't know that.
yeah, you normally get 16 to 18 hours to rehydrate before you guys get in the ring and fight it out again. Fight to actually fight, to do your job. So that's it, and that when I weigh in and I eat and able to rehydrate, it's like I guess that's like one of the main reasons why we boxers do it is just so we can lose weight and then eat again after we drain ourselves to the weight that we want to be at.
Yeah.
The feeling of like it's like you could jump over a house. You have
Yeah.
that much more energy from when you first started training.
Well, I noticed also to kind of get because I noticed this on your just real quickly on your website that you also have a mentoring program for the youth. And
Oh yeah.
is this something you're very passionate about, obviously? And does this did this kind of stem from the struggles that you went through? What got you into that, or do you
Yeah.
feel?
Yeah. Most definitely, because is a lot, especially now in these generations. There's no is a lack of discipline.
Yeah,
Um, so I noticed that, especially with my children. Um, I noticed that, and even like when I take my children out somewhere, they get complimented all the time because they're so well behaved. You know,
really.
yeah.
How many do you have? How many children do you have?
I have one, two, three that are mine, and then Coralie, four with
Oh my,
Elena's child. We're married, so four in total. Um, but
do
yeah,
you?
they're all so like super. I put it in quotes. Uh, they're super behaved, and I'm like, yeah, because they know better. Like they know better.
Do you
You
feel you were a big part of that, or is their mother more the disciplinary, or do you feel like it was a
know?
combination, or
No, just me.
just you? Okay.
I got a wooden spoon.
You
Me
got,
and my wooden, me and my wooden spoon. But I enjoy it because from when I was a youth, it was it's a lot different from when I am now. Yeah, I could go. That's a whole nother sermon. But so yeah, I learned from a lot of people's mistakes, and then I try to. I try. Well, I'm not trying. I am. I'm correcting those mistakes with my children. And um, and I get to see the fruits of that. Yeah, and especially with especially my girls like
Uh-huh.
Coralie and my daughter London. Like
Uh-huh.
I don't get to see my daughter that much, but when I do see her, I guess it just clicks and she remembers everything, and she's just so much well behaved than the other ones because I'm
Now,
not exactly sure why, but
where are you doing the mentoring program at? Is this at a gym or?
no, I have the boys that come to my house right now. I don't. Right now, I'm just training Ian. Um, my garage is my gym.
Okay.
So, yeah, he was here. So yeah, Ian, I trained Ian, and that boy when I first met him, he was 10 years old, chubby, little chubby boy, and now he's 12 years old, about to be 13, and he's like standing up straight when he's walking and stuff, and he's more disciplined, and he's starting to become more aware of how he should be exercising while he's not here and stuff. And even his mother, it makes me feel good because his mother and his father, they see the changes that he's making
Uh-huh.
because I'm guessing that they don't discipline the children like he's being disciplined here.
Right.
Like through boxing, like with boxing is you don't get it right, or I done told you one too many times, give me some push-ups, and then that kind of discipline. I have a few other ones that I was training too. I haven't seen them in a little while through their drama, their parents' problems, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, but even with them, they had a 15-year-old, another 12-year-old, um, 15, 12, 10, and then Ian, who's now 12 also. So
Yeah.
the seeing the change in them that's kind of like what made me really start this whole mentoring thing, because I don't want them, because they live here. This North Carolina isn't as bad of a state as where I was living in Pennsylvania, but still it is bad everywhere. So I like teaching them and telling them this story here, which is always a lot longer, obviously, because we don't have that much time.
Yeah.
But they get to hear the in depth, and I show them around. They get to come to the house, and I show them even around the house, and give them the motivation to to show them that, hey, if you do better, if you continue to do this and stay dedicated to it, then there's a possibility that you can even have better, greater things that I have, and you can take care of your family without having to go to work 10, 12 hours a day. Because as an athlete, that's what I do, especially with my mental instabilities. I can't just do stuff like that. So I had to figure out a way, when I was younger, I had to figure out a way in my teens to exert myself and try to make a way for myself that wasn't so that didn't put anybody else in jeopardy or myself.
Right.
Um, so
What?
yeah, that's one of my main things with the whole mentoring thing, especially with my children too.
Well, you're giving back too, and that's good from your experiences. What would you say, if you could sum it up, what would you say boxing has done, you know, the most for you in life, or, for, if you could say, sum it up into one thing, how has it helped you the most? Not just necessarily about winning, but in life in general, in your life,
Yeah, I got you.
for you personally.
For me personally, I feel like it was the tool that God used to save me, um, to bring me to Him. Because without boxing, I'm not exactly sure where I'd be. Like I really I don't know, because obviously I'm here, but the way that I see it through boxing, I was able to channel all my hostility or channel all my anger and into that, instead of going out and continue robbing people or continue having these gang fights, or staying in those scenarios where a lot of my friends have been shot, killed, life in prison, or killed themselves in suicidal methods. It really helped me out mentally, physically, and socially, spiritually, and it brought me to a place where I'm able to, now I can connect with God. Now I can a lot better, than I used to beforehand, when I was a rebel,
Right.
enjoying that street life. Whereas it only gets you but so far, and then there's a cutoff to that. There's a cutoff switch to that. Whereas with boxing, it opened up many positive doors, many positive avenues, positive relationships with people that are even now continuing to mentor me in a way that where I can continue growing, and even take the boxing and now feed it to other people where they can start to grow, and they can see those changes in themselves, physically, mentally, emotionally. They can control themselves in that fashion. So that's it. People look at boxing where they're just two people fighting each other, but they don't see, like I said, they don't see the emotional part of it, or the where people can control their hostility instead of just lash out towards anybody that they see when they get upset.
Right. Well, I think that's a beautiful experience for you, and I'm glad you found the boxing because your story is pretty amazing, and you you are a rebel, and I like rebels, and I'm not one. I'm a bit of one, I've had my trials and tribulations, so
Yeah,
and,
it got you to where you're at. So,
yeah,
I feel like rebellion is a good and bad thing. Rebellion can only be a bad thing if you stay in it.
yeah,
You stay
yeah.
in the rebellion, then yeah, you're gonna have those consequences that will continue happening. But if you learn from them, then it just makes you a more wiser person. And a wise man was once a fool. So
Yeah. Well, I think I'm glad you overcame your addictions, and I certainly understand that. I told you about the things I went through, and you'll just keep pushing forward. And I'm glad that you have found the boxing, and you've had a lot of. I mean, the fact that you were named the uh, 2021 Boxer of the Year from the UBO is. I mean, how does that make you feel? I mean, that's gotta
it's
be
cool. Yeah, it is actually really cool. Because I've been put in different nominations before, never won anything. So
yeah.
it's a good feeling. It's not as good of a feeling as actually winning the title,
Yeah,
but that right there was just like, what? I'm a world champion.
I know. When you won the title and got that belt, do you remember how can you describe what was going through your mind?
At the time, I was just tired. I was like, I just went 12 rounds. I'm like holding the belt. I'm like, yeah, this is so awesome. And then it didn't really hit me until like when I went home. I didn't go home. I was out of state. But when I woke up in that hotel, and I was like, I got up and there's the belt still. I'm like, what? So I took the belt, went and made some coffee. I sat outside, took a picture with the belt and my coffee. I'm like, oh, I'm the world champion. Like,
See, I think that would be, I would have to keep pinching myself, And,
Yeah, that's why it's there. I'm like,
yeah.
real. It's real. Okay, it's still real. Now I'm
It's just
defending it.
glad to see it, and I'm excited. I remember when I saw that wall behind you, and there was another one up there that was
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, it's really pretty. It's pretty amazing. I would be so proud of that, and I was really glad that you get to keep it. I think.
Yeah. That's like yeah, because it becomes a trophy once you stop boxing, or if you
Yeah,
decide to relinquish your title, and forfeit your rights to the title, then you still get to keep the title as a trophy. That's kind of
yeah,
it's really awesome. I'll always have it for the rest of my existence. So yeah, that's super
yeah.
cool. Even my children, they're all the time like, "Oh, can I hold the title?" Like,
I, I think it's really, I don't know. I just think that's amazing after what you've been through. Now, where do you, just a couple more questions or we'll have to go, but where would you like to go from here? I mean, what would you say your plans are? I don't know. Just,
I'm hoping. I'm hoping to. I'm hoping to get a bigger bout by the end of the year. Because the fights is I'm only getting older. Especially being 31, and I've taken so much punishment throughout the years of boxing. Um, it's like I feel like it may be coming to a close. It may not be. I still have the fire in me. I still train. As you've seen, I train like no other. Um, if I get a good chance this year to actually be to go to unify my title with another bigger name title, then that's kind of like what we're hoping for this year.
uh-huh.
And if not, then I get to hang the gloves up maybe and go a different route. I'm in college now. That's a funny story that we didn't mention. Uh, I'm in college now. I finally got my high school diploma I'm 31. I was 29. I got my high school diploma at 29, and
Good for you.
yeah, and then now I'm in college and taking a business course, and so that's definitely going. That's like my plan B, and
Yeah.
yeah, to actually, because learning business and learning business, and even like some of the classes that I'm taking for business, especially like psychology.
Uh-huh.
It's like one of those classes is like it's so more. It opens the brain up for growth. People think like, oh, you're growing when you have wealth. Like I believe like health is wealth. You have the more the better, the more things that you can do in life. If you don't know much in life and all you do is just work, job this, job that, 9 to 5, then you're never opening yourself up to better possibilities to do even more in life, even for other people. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of like where it's going now. I even got I'm like wearing glasses. I'm like, oh, look how dorky I look. Like,
Are you going to the school? Are you doing online courses, or how are you
online.
online? See, I
Yeah,
think it's great that you're doing that because you are gonna it's gonna open up a lot of new doors for you, and even if you don't do anything with the business, could lead you into all kinds of directions. Just getting the business.
yeah, most definitely, and I'm excited about that. That's one of the. I'm like excited about the next chapter of my journey.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really exciting, especially like coming from the problems that I have had, the situations that I've had to deal with. I never thought I'd make it this far. So being able to make it this far and accomplish as much as that I've been able to accomplish, I thank the Most High all the time for for allowing me to come this far as I am now.
Yeah.
And I have such a amazing partner to follow me with that journey, and my
I
wife.
know. I think it's great you have one. Maybe you could go just start speaking engagements all over the world one day about your story and
I
like
was told that.
yeah, that's another thing, that you could do. You just never know. So I'm assuming that this is my last question, your most proud moment. What would that be in your whole in boxing in your throughout your career, or maybe even it's just your most proud moment, period, to this
None. I don't have one.
day? Okay.
It's a funny thing. I kind of like expelled pride out of my heart. It's
Uh-huh.
out of my mind. I don't really. I I feel like how do I put
Well,
it?
look at it as a proud. When I asked you if you had a proud moment, don't look at it as a prideful thing, but a gratitude thing, something that you are the most grateful for. That's
I don't know. I can't associate it to proud. I don't really have one, and until I accomplish all the things that are on my list, and
well, just
then
so far.
I may have a moment where I'm like, yes, but I'm like,
No, gratitude can be just you said you were grateful you found your spirituality.
I don't look at that as being prideful for it though. Proud is kind of like
No, grateful, not pride, not just being grateful, a grateful
well,
experience.
I'm just grateful for life. I think life is
Yeah,
is a good term. It's a good way to end that. Life in general is. It's funny how life works. Life works in a way that a lot of people expect it not to. There's so many people that expect life to be, this kind of smooth sail when it's not. Because even while you're sailing, you got the waves that come in and disrupt that pattern. Um, and then what is most amazing about life is that you can go through those waves and you can get your ship all messed up, but you can still fix your ship to let it keep sailing. That's that you get that choice in life to make it better, or to learn from those mistakes that you have made and correct them to be in to better your positioning in life. I think that's kind of like that's that's probably one of the most amazing things that I see is just life in general. And people take that out of people misconcept the story of life, and
yeah,
they expect it to be too they expect it to be a fantasy or a fairy tale when it's not.
yeah,
They want to skip all the bad and just glory and praise all the time, except it's not like that. And I think that's the beauty of it. um, having that downtime to figure out, to find yourself.
right.
Having that downtime to find yourself is definitely an amazing thing.
Well, that's a good answer, and I agree with you. I think after what you've been through, you would have a greater appreciation. Dying like that you did, and you were grateful. It's a blessing they brought you back. So I'm glad you turned your life around, Noel, and I think it's great. So I hope you can in the future do something with that too. I really do think there's a lot of possibilities for you out there. I hate to end this, but is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to mention before I say goodbye to the viewers? And I want to thank you for being here.
And I thank you, and God bless you so much, to Tamara. And
Thank you.
for the viewers, they can follow me at Holy Fire Boxing, or on Facebook at the Holy Fire, or go to my website, teamholyfire.com. Follow for the next fight that is coming up in April 23rd. I want to thank my sponsors, obviously, and all the sponsors that I have, my chiropractor, all the people that are watching and listening and taking the time out to hear the small little story that I have. And, hopefully that the motivation continues to push everybody else to do greater things. Because if I can do it, then anybody else can do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know. Well, you've overcome so much. So I'm really glad that you have hung in there and that I know it's all been worth it. Um, I want to make sure that I want to thank the viewers here today for your continued support. And please share the replay of this interview with Noel with your friends on social media. And you can find him on Instagram and Facebook, and make sure you visit his site at teamholyfire.com, and make sure you subscribe to Tamarah's Closet on YouTube so you can stay up with my upcoming interviews, and stay with us for more live interviews coming with talented people. And to your own success, just keep on rocking it, and we'll see you next time. Take care.